Thank you so much, Steve, for having me here today. It's great to be here. It's wonderful to celebrate you and your work and such a fantastic line-up of brilliant poets. So it's lovely to be here. Thank you. What I haven't said is, when I heard about the woman who ate her bedroom wall, each day a new piece of plaster, chopped off and choked down with a cup of warm water, my mouth went dry, a taste of chalk and earth. I too keep rocks in my stomach, small and quiet, though I've never told you, just as I've never mentioned the tapping from inside the skirting board or the light switch that fizzes in the dark. Sometimes the pine trees on the wallpaper nod from side to side, and I can't tell if it's a warning or an invitation. But I do know that each time I don't say this, I go heavier, and the walls which keep us safe are getting thin. So I'm going to read today from my pamphlet. First, I turn off the light. And this pamphlet is kind of broadly about my own experience of having OCD, obsessional compulsive disorder. And I've kind of had OCD throughout my life, but it became more of a kind of prominent part of my life during the pandemic, as I'm sure it did for many people who also suffer from OCD. And during this time, it started to sort of feel like the domestic space started to take on this kind of strange, uncanny quality, where familiar objects and things started to feel kind of unfamiliar and strange, and even in some cases quite sort of threatening and unpredictable. And alongside this, another sort of phenomenon happened where it felt like the world of the surreal, and even in some cases the absurd, started to sort of seep into everyday, seemingly rational reality. So what I kind of wanted to do in some of these poems was to try and kind of really lean into that experience a little bit. So this poem is my attempt at doing so. When the scarecrows come, you must not question why. Let them in instead, let them in like old friends. Allow them to hang their ragamuffin coats and sit at your table on the steadiest chairs. Let them eat the decent bread and drink the cider you've been saving. They may talk amongst themselves in the low hum of telegraph wires on a hot summer's day. They may swoop their pumpkin heads or unfasten their patchwork smiles, but you mustn't read too much into it. Affect an air of absolute self-assurance. Wear a casual blazer. Unscrew the jar of pickled onions like someone who owns many jars of pickled onions. If one of them looks at you directly, look back, but not too intently. It has been said that staring into the eyes of a scarecrow is like peering down the shafts of great wells. Some have been known to slip. Of course, not everyone knows the way of scarecrows. Some can hear the click of the garden gate, free from the feeling that something inside is unlatching. Imagine being such a person, arranging tumblers along a kitchen shelf, taking the small, clean weight of a whole glass in your hand, turning each one against the light and simply thinking, yes, this glass is empty, and yes, this one, empty also, like someone who really believes it. So, in a way, it's quite hard, I think, to know how to introduce this next poem. It's the last poem I'm going to read, but the one thing I could say about it is that while I wanted to kind of think about the domestic space, I also want to think about what happens when you kind of go outside of the domestic space and into the external world and interact with its people and its things. And that's all true, but it's also a poem about sharks, because I really like sharks, and they're interesting creatures, and I wanted to write a poem where a shark made an appearance. So this is my attempt at that. Thank you again, Steve. This is the last poem I'm going to read, so thank you. And so I started to dress up as a shark. I enjoy my newfound height, how people hold doors open as I approach them, and strangers stop me in the street for selfies, asking if they may rest their heads upon my white, pillowy underbelly. I wear the suit so often that friends and loved ones forget I'm in there and address their comments to the arrow-shaped head looming just above my own, making jokes about custard while jabbing their pink elbows into my side. I sleep often, deep, thick dreams in which I'm lying in a field of grass, blades turning in the breeze, stripes of sunlight over my arms and legs, while in the undergrowth, shadows flash, start to circle in. When I Google sharks, I learn that they lack the capacity to dream, and so I empty my head of difficult thoughts, drip by drip. But I keep coming back to that house party a few weeks ago, where a girl cut her hand on some glass, the blood trickling down her arm, and how in the slim moments before the panic, frenzy tingled up my spine, how my mouth went dry, my skin tightened like leather, and in the mirror, for a second, I caught myself, a pair of eyes looking out from the darkness between row upon row of jagged teeth. Thank you very much.